Mr. D. Shivakumar. I request our President, Mr. Sunil Choredia, to kindly escort him to the. May I request our Director, Mr. Jagdish Verma, to offer a floral welcome to Mr. D. Thank you very much. Where no business plan has ever been. These success stories, they captivate the heart and they stir our imagination, create the desire to act. And to keeping that idea in mind, IMA has taken this unique initiative, rendezvous an exclusive series of CEO dinner meals, which we have been having over last 1.5 years, where we invite business leaders to share their learnings, experiences, and thoughts with the elite professionals of this region. And we have the privilege to interact, ideate, deliberate with the icons from industry and the business to get insight of their success story. And we have one such icon here with us, Mr. D. Shivakumar. It is indeed our pleasure and privilege to have Mr. D. Shivakumar with us. I would like to just give a brief introduction for the benefit of all of us. He is the Vice President and Managing Director of one of the most sought after mobile handsets in India, Nokia. And his journey from a dedicated student to a renowned businessman is a success story of a leader who has carved his own path. He has managed more than 35 brands like Indore, Philips, Nokia, etc. He has very successfully managed businesses in India. He also writes, his passion also is writing, and he also teaches in business schools. He has written regularly from 1985 to 1992 in Business Standard, and he is also the Vice President of All India Management Association. So we welcome here Shiv, who has over 2 decades of experience in consumer market in India. He has headed consumer electronics business for Philips India as senior VP and was the executive director on Philips India board. He has spent several years with Hindustan Levers. So he is a man of all seasons. He has a management and engineering degree and is passionate about writing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Mr. Shivakumar to this August gathering and request him to take the dais and present his views on the common mistakes a CEO makes.
Warm welcome from my side. Thank you for being here this evening. Sparing your valuable Friday evening to listen to a topic which I'm sure all of us are keen about and all of us can learn a lot about. There is nothing called a definitive document of the mistakes CEOs make. They tend to make a lot of mistakes every day, and documenting them and trying to present them in 50 minutes is actually very difficult. Before I start with my presentation proper, I'd just like to congratulate the Indore Management Association. As part of IMA and sitting on the IMA Council, I'm always encouraged by the spirit of the IMA and all that you achieve. And I really wish that all our other 45 or so added numbers of the local management associations could actually set the bar that you people are setting. And I have promised the Executive Council that I'll try and be back here for your annual convention on December 14-15. I will definitely try to make it for one. I couldn't make it the last 2 times, my apologies, because last year was Jan 21-22 and I'm on the board of Godrej, and those are the exact dates that we have the strategy session between the board of directors and the top 50 managers. So that's the reason I couldn't make it. But this year, I think the date is far more convenient, and I'll definitely try and make it this year. So this topic is actually a challenging one. A lot has been written about a lot will be written about it. Okay, this will never end. What I've tried to capture for you is what I have seen in my career. Okay, I've not referred to any book or anybody. What I have seen, typically, the kind of mistakes CEOs make. Okay, as in my journey over 20 years, I've seen this. I've been a CEO for about 9 of the 24 years that I've worked. So, based on my own mistakes, what I've done, but seeing others, what mistakes they've done, this is what I've tried to capture here. So, what I'll do is, the structure is as follows. First, I'll talk about what is the job of a CEO. What is the job of a CEO and what does he really do? Okay, that's what I'll cover. What are the traits required for being an effective CEO? Then I'll talk about the mistakes CEOs make, and I've bifurcated that into 2 parts. There are mistakes CEOs make based on personality, and there are mistakes CEOs make on the business side. Okay, so I've split the 2. Quite often people look more at the business, but I'd like to really look at the personality also of the CEO. The kind of traits which a CEO displays, the kind of mistakes he makes in his sheer personality. That's one area I look at. And the other area I look at is the common mistakes people make when they run a business, a day-to-day business, the kind of mistakes they make. Then I'll talk about just 2 slides on how does the CEO see, either for his company or organization, the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, how should he be looking at the next 3 to 5 years? Okay, that's what I thought I'd do in the topic, rather than just say these are mistakes people make. I'd like to leave you with something to look forward to in terms of how you should be running your corporations over the next 3 to 5 years. So, the day job of the CEO. It is not an easy job. As I mentioned, this is my 9th year as CEO, out of my 24 years of work. It's one of the toughest jobs that I've done at any point. It's a tough job because everything is on your head, whether you like it or not. If you're a CEO who thrives on responsibility, it's the best job. If you're a CEO who says, no, I cannot shoulder this responsibility, you should not take this job. Okay, it's a tough job to start with. It's a 24/7 job. There's no let up. Every single stakeholder expects an answer from you. Every single stakeholder expects you to live up to a certain standard of responsiveness and a standard of work ethic. Okay, there's enormous demands on your time, there's enormous demands on every single thing. The day job of the CEO, again, please don't bother to write this down. I'll leave a copy of this with the IMA, so all of you will get a copy. I'd rather have your attention. Consumer and customer, being focused on that is absolutely critical if your business is a consumer or customer focused business. If your business is a government business, where you're dealing with the government, you're supplying to the government, etc., then it's a different matter. But in essence, if you have consumers and customers, then the role of the CEO, the number 1 job should be to understand them better than anybody else. Consumers and customers. 1. Putting the organization first is his day job. 3. You have to revisit your strategy regularly. What's going right? What's going wrong? How do I reshape it? Next, you should be able to see around the corner, because that's what a CEO is supposed to bring to the table. Anybody can see straight. Anybody can see the next 3 months. What a good CEO does is look at the next 1 year, look at the next 3 years, look at the next 5 years. Okay, that's what's called looking around the corner. Then you need to champion talent and development. The best people in the company should always get the feeling that this company is a performance company and the CEO is personally championing this. Okay, he has to think succession. You have to manage the board or the owner. If you are the CEO of an owner-run company, you have to manage the owner. If you are a CEO of a board-run company, you have to manage the board. You have to interact with them, quarterly results, quarterly strategy discussions, etc. You have to benchmark your organization vis-a-vis others. How are you doing? That's something you need to do. You need to speed up the organization continuously. You need to get the organization to learn and unlearn. Most important of all, you need to be the best storyteller in the organization. You have to, because folklore and organizations go hand in hand. It's only when you build folklore, it's only when you tell those great stories. This is what happened 10 years ago, 1 year ago, 5 years ago. That's how you get emotion into the organization. Okay, so that's what is the day job of the CEO. Okay, this book was written by Adam Bryant a few months ago. What Adam did was very simple. He went around America and he just spent time with CEOs, about 250 of them. He just spent with them and asked them, how do you work, what do you do, etc. nothing about the business. Okay, and based on those 250 interviews over many months, he distilled 5 things which he said are absolutely essential for a very good CEO. First is passionate curiosity. CEOs are very curious people. When you are curious, you learn. CEOs are always asking questions. Why this? Why not that? What's here? What's not there? Etc. That's what's called passionate curiosity. Out of that passionate curiosity, they quell knowledge in their organizations. They make people think differently, and they become the reservoir of many a knowledge. First is passionate curiosity. Second is battle-hardened confidence. There is nothing called an easy ride in any business anymore. All businesses are like, example, take a flight from here to London. Over 9 hours of the flight, you'll hit many air pockets, you'll hit many clouds, and there'll be a bit of turbulence. Your ability to manage the turbulence, take that knock and come back successfully is what battle-hardened confidence is. CEOs need to have that more than anybody else. If CEOs panic when things are wrong, then their whole company will collapse. That's why Adam said that battle-hardened confidence is number 2. I want to shift this. When he says team smart, it's about understanding how teams work. Okay, all teams don't work in the same way in any organization. Each team works differently. And a good CEO figures out which teams work how and how does he bring them together. Next is a very simple mindset. It doesn't mean that he has to be a simple guy in that sense. A simple mindset means the ability to take a complex problem and distill it down to very simple parameters so that people can understand. That's what a simple mindset is. Okay, ability to take something complex, unravel it for the organization. And fifth is important, fearlessness. Courage, fearlessness, etc. are all synonyms and typical words used with CEOs. Okay, there are many times you're betting the company, you're betting the direction, you're betting crores of rupees, you're betting people and their careers on a particular direction. And hence, you have to be very clear that you should have the fearlessness to take people and the company in that direction. So those are the 5 traits of a CEO as researched by Adam Bryant. Let's look at differentiators. What are the qualities which differentiate good CEOs from bad CEOs? This is a study done by Justin Menz recently again. He did a very simple thing. He took 1,000 companies. Okay, he took the CEOs and said, these companies had successful CEOs. These are the characteristics they display. These are the 3 on the board. Then there were average companies, and there were the last 1/3 of companies. And he actually found in the study that these 3 characteristics which explain success, the lack of it also explained failure in the last 1 of years. And that's why he called them what he calls the 3 qualities that differentiate CEOs. One CEO from the other. Okay? So this is a study among CEOs. Okay? So first is realistic optimism. So very important point. If a CEO is not optimistic, how do you expect anybody in the organization to be optimistic? You have to have a view of the future which is optimistic. No organization I have seen in my career of life has ever been run effectively by a cynic. Cynics can't run organizations. When people like me, we choose people for the board, we choose people at senior management levels. One of the big things I always look for is that optimism. Is the guy optimistic enough? Can he fall down, get up, still run? It's a very important quality for being a good CEO. Optimism. Second is focus on professional purpose. All CEOs dedicate themselves to something or the other. They dedicate themselves to building the institution they represent. They dedicate themselves to growing the learning in the organization. They dedicate themselves to building a competency or an advantage for the company. They have a strong professional focus. They don't let go of the focus. In that sense, CEOs are very much like top-class athletes. If you ask Roger Federer or Pete Sampras, what did you want to be? They'll say, I wanted to win Wimbledon. And they will tell you they wanted to do that when they were 10 or 11, not when they were 25. So CEOs have an enormous professional focus. Whether it's learning, whether it's competitive advantage, whether it's building an institution, whatever it is, they have enormous focus and energy on trying to be the best at that professional area they choose. Third, again going back to the simple mindset, CEOs have the ability to find order in chaos. It's a chaotic world out there, and good CEOs, according to the traits by Menkes, have the ability to create order out of chaos. Okay? Those are the things. Is it working now? Thanks for successful. and the Quran and the Bible to our kids. Why do we do that? It's a way of inculcating the right values. It's a way of inculcating what's right in the family, what's right in society. That's why we tell a lot of stories from my college. Same is very true in organizations. When you're in an organization, when you want to carry the people with you and say, this is the kind of organization we are, then you have to tell the stories of what we were in the past. What did we do? How did we do it? For example, in Nokia is 145 years old in the world. Okay? We talk many times about how there were 2-3 times or more times in our journey when we were really bankrupt. And we took a very big, bold decision to say we'll go in a particular direction, which most people thought was foolish. In 1991, Nokia was a $3 billion corporation. And we had 20 business units or something. We sold everything off, put all our money behind telecom. Everybody, every analyst, every consultant told us it was the worst thing to do. Okay, we tell that story many times that McKinsey, the consultant, said that the market for mobile phones was 5 million units. Okay, the market for mobile phones has become 5 million units today. Okay, so we tell these stories to say, how you get the organization focused in a particular way. So that's what I tell the story. Okay, I'm glad it's done. So now let's go to the proper subject which you asked me, which is mistakes CEOs make. These first 6 slides are about the personality mistakes that CEOs make. Okay, you recognize them in some of the CEOs who you work with. I recognize them in many of the CEOs that I work with. Okay? First, is a CEO a friend or a foe? Big question. Okay, this is a common mistake which CEOs make. By definition, a CEO cannot be a friend. By definition. And I'll explain why later on when I come to business. Okay? You can be friendly, but you cannot be a friend. There's a big difference between the two. I can be friendly with every single subordinate of mine, but I have to recognize that I am the CEO. Because finally, the buck stops at my table. Okay? So I can be very friendly with anybody, but I should not confuse that for being friends. Okay? That's the first thing. Okay? Equally, a CEO can never be a foe. CEO cannot be a foe. CEO cannot afford to have enemies around in his own company. He should not create the atmosphere also. Okay, so you can be friendly, cannot have enemies. Okay? Be very friendly, but be very, very clear that you are the boss, the buck stops with you, and you will have to take certain calls which will never make you popular with everybody in the organization. Never possible. Any decision I make, I can be sure that there will be 70% who might agree to it, 20% who might think this is the stupidest idea, and 10% who might actually be against it. Okay? In trying to be popular, in trying to be friend, people make this mistake. So the mistake people make as a result of this is, many times CEOs aim for popularity rather than aiming for respect. I would rather that the CEO aim for respect, not for popularity. Popular CEOs don't deliver. Respected CEOs deliver. Friend or foe? That's one question always in the CEO's mind. Hands-on or hands-on? Again, a challenge. I would call this as, my own philosophy would be to say, I don't micromanage, but I microsense. I know what's happening. So, out of the country, I try and connect with as many people as possible in my organization, get as much feedback as possible on what's happening. Based on that, if there's something with logistics, then I would tell the logistics head, hey, this is what I'm picking up, maybe you'd want to look at it. If there's something in sales I'm picking up, I'll tell the sales head, this is what I'm picking up. If there's something I'm picking in region south, I'll tell the region south head, Mr. Sridhar, look, hey Sridhar, this is what I'm picking up from your boys. Maybe you want to think about it. Okay, so I believe much more in micro-sensing rather than micromanaging. Because micro-sensing, in a way, you can give the boundary to your person to actually work on it. Okay, and in micro-sensing, you can actually be a partner with your subordinate rather than being distant. This thing about hands-on or hands-off is, if you're hands-off, if thing blows up, you can't tell somebody, hey, why didn't you tell me? Then he'll think that you want to micromanage. If you're hands-on all the time, then your subordinate doesn't know what to do. Okay, so either is bad. I believe much more in micro-sensing, picking up those nuances on the edges of the company, picking that up and feeding it back into the organization. Okay, so this is a big challenge again for CEOs, hands-on versus hands-on. Third, ego low. By definition, CEOs are guys who've had successful careers. That's the reason they are there. Okay. So success is a very funny thing. Because when you're very successful, very few people understand what has made them successful. What are the traits which made them successful? For example, when CEOs, when they reach the role of a CEO, by and large, most CEOs have worked very hard for it. Typical work day would be 18 to 20 hours a day. That's what they've started, right from the time they were area sales managers or frontline, technical people or purchase people, whatever. They've spent 20 hours a day. They've been very diligent. They've done all the right things. When they get into the CEO's office, they start some bad practices. They start arriving late. Okay, they don't read all the papers because suddenly they think they can manage without the same hard work. The very traits which made them CEOs, they forget it. It's exactly like sport. If Tendulkar today starts taking his technique for granted, he won't win. He won't score. It's exactly the same thing. Because the higher you go, the more you need to polish your strengths. The more you need to practice your craft. And many CEOs just forget it and suddenly they say, I know it all. I've seen it all. Why? Because they have a track record of 15 years of success or 20 years of success. That's when they start going down. Okay? I know many CEOs who say, I don't need to meet the consumer. I don't need to meet the customer. I know enough about the Indian consumer. I know enough about Indian business models. It's nothing like that in today's world. The world is changing every day. If you're unwilling to change and you're resting on what you've learned in 2000, 1995, it's no use. Let me give a simple example. Let's take the education of business, MBAs. When I studied the degree, what was written in the textbooks is completely archaic today. Completely archaic. It doesn't apply in today's world at all. So how do you learn? You have to go out there and learn all the time. You can't say, yeah, I studied this in my business school, so now let me tell you what it is. Doesn't work. The concept doesn't work anymore. Concepts are changing rapidly. So a CEO who tells me he's a know-all is the first sign that he's dead. He's on the way to extinction. He's a dinosaur. Every CEO who thinks he knows it all is on the journey to extinction. Okay, so this know-all and an ego is a big mistake that CEOs make on the personality side. Another typical mistake CEOs make is when the situation is tough, they withdraw. They withdraw, they sit in their office, they sit with just 3-4 people whom they trust, 110%, and they don't really communicate with the rest of the organization. In fact, the opposite is what empirical evidence always shows is correct. In the toughest of times, you should be out there for every single person to see you. Every single person out there in the organization. Your supplier, your contractor, your vendor, your salespeople, your retailer, everybody should be seeing you. Because they will judge what they want to do based on the way you interact with them. The last thing a CEO should do in tough times, personality-wise, is to bunker down and sit quiet. Okay, big mistake. Because then people will assume the worst. Okay, so this is a common mistake again I see CEOs make. They withdraw in tough times. They're just not visible enough. Next mistake CEOs make, attention span. Very small attention spans. CEOs have a lot of things on their head, but attention span is not a good thing to have on your seat, low attention span. I used to once work for a boss who was the head of Unilever Foods business, who had an attention span of over 20 seconds at best. So we'd have a meeting for an hour and we'd all come together, we'd send the pre-reading, everybody's ready, etc. Then he'll sit and say, okay, show me the last slide. Okay, so now here's a team which has put 30 slides together. Okay, 40 slides, debate, etc. And then he says, show me the last slide. Now the last slide, he'll say, okay, now this, yes, 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 no, okay, close. Okay, having a low attention span is actually, the right word is, it's insulting to your subordinates. If you have a low attention span. Which means you don't care about the other guy. Okay, before he finishes the sentence, if you say, okay, no, let's stop it. Okay, that's a very bad way of dealing with people. So, people catch on, they know how to deal with you. So, the same boss of mine, once we had the agency presenting, Atishi Pradhan and Jagdeep Bakshi, I remember this, 1998 in Bangalore. So, they came for the meeting, 1 hour. So, my boss said, okay, last slide guys. So, they put the last slide. It said, thank you. So they made a point back to him. Okay, so attention span is a big sin of CEOs. Okay, very big sin of CEOs. If you call somebody, give them the time to listen to them. Okay, whether it's one-on-one, group, whatever, give them the time to listen. Others don't give them the time if you're so busy. But you cannot have low attention spans. Okay, so this is a mistake I've seen people make. Another mistake which people make, and I've seen this, I told you I'm on the board of Godrej, I'm on some other advisory board. I've seen this. When a CEO comes, he really doesn't build consensus with the board and doesn't interact with his peers well enough. Okay, and this is about, you are a CEO, sure. The board's job is to fire or hire a CEO. That's the board's job. If they don't have confidence in you, they can take you off, irrespective of your results. On an average, the average CEO tenure in America today is about 24 to 30 months, 18 to 24. Why? Boards are very impatient. Boards say, sorry, you're not connecting with us, you're not figuring it out, thank you. So a very important role for a CEO is the way he connects with his board members, as well as his peers in other companies. Both are important. Okay, and many CEOs in the whole humdrum of running the company forget to reach out to the board members. Okay, and now I must say here, if I give you the Godrej example, Mr. Mahendran is the CEO of Godrej, the combined Godrej company. And I must tell you, almost on a monthly or every 2 months, if he's ever coming to Delhi, he'll say, Shiv, can we have a drink? Let's just meet up. What's happening? Tell me. How are you seeing this advertising of mine? How are you seeing this product? What do you think? If he's making a new product, he'll send it across to the board members. To me, Omkar, Aman Mehta, Doshi, etc. and say, what do you guys think of this new product? He engages us very well. So as a result of which, when we sit on the board meeting, we are happy to support some of the more, let's take borderline decisions, saying, okay, let's go for this. We believe in you. Because we've got to understand the person and the relationship between him and the company and us. And this is something many CEOs don't do. They don't reach out to their boards enough. Okay, so invariably, when the board member comes for a board meeting, they look at the results or something and say, hey, this is not on, I don't think this is the right thing to do. And then the CEO thinks that these board members don't understand anything. Okay, you have to reach out to board members. You have to reach out to who actually manages your company or owns your company. Okay? Whether it's the board or the owner. This is another mistake I found a number of people make, which is they seek personal publicity ahead of the company publicity. Okay? And I can give you lots of names from the durable sector, lots of names in India. Okay? No CEO, and I'm saying this very strongly and very emphatically, no CEO is bigger than the brand or company it represents. The day a CEO thinks he's bigger than the brand and the company he represents, he's dead in the water. The very same journalists who are friends with him will kill him in a few matters, in a few days of matters, time. Okay, you are never above the company or the brand you represent. Okay, you can influence the results of a company, the results of a brand. You can do a lot of good strategy, you can do a lot of good work behind it, but you are not the only reason for success. A CEO is one of the many reasons for success of a brand and a company. Many CEOs think they are the only reason for success. That's where they make the mistake. You are one of the reasons, not the only reason. Empirical evidence. 15% of the market cap value of a company is determined by the CEO. Okay, it's one of the largest chunks. This is in American global study. So you're one of the reasons, you're not the only reason for success. So this constant craving for I'm a great guy, my personal glory, my personal picture, etc. is actually a big mistake. So we have a philosophy in Nokia, and it's my personal philosophy. I've been with Nokia now 6 years. You will never find a magazine with only my picture on the cover, ever. Ever. If you see any article in Nokia, it will always be a group picture of me and my management team. It's never me. Because that's one of the philosophies I strongly believe in, and luckily my comms director Poonam Paul also believes in that. So anytime people say we want to run a cover story, the answer is no. You want to run a cover story on the Nokia team? The answer is yes. No. Because once you start doing it, the whole world thinks that this is what you want, which is an even bigger danger signal. Then people start behaving and dealing with you differently. That's why it's very, very important for the CEO, to very clearly remember that his personal publicity is not the reason why he's there. So, I've seen a lot of CEOs make mistakes on this. So those are the some of the personality traits: attention span, ego, personality, things like that, which CEOs make when they run businesses. Now let's look at the business side. The first thing which a CEO must always know is the corollary to what I just said, which is personal publicity. He must truly understand why is this brand or company valuable to this ecosystem or consumers. Why is it valuable? Quite often CEOs don't understand the value of their company. So just spend a moment and ask yourself, you represent companies, you are CEOs, why is this brand or your company valuable to your customers? If you understand that, then the business side is easier. If you don't understand that, you'll make a lot of mistakes in your strategy. You'll make a lot of mistakes going forward. I don't know, somebody said it, Peter Drucker or someone said it. If you want to change something, try and understand it first. So if you want to change your organization, my recommendation to all of you is understand what makes you successful. If you understand what makes you successful, then it's easier for you to take it forward. You'll make all the right choices. If you don't understand that element, then what you will be doing, you'll be tinkering. You will not do anything fundamentally right. Okay, so understanding what makes your brand valuable to the ecosystem or people you deal with is a very important part of what a CEO should know. Okay, and sometimes when I talk to CEOs, I don't see that depth in them and understanding what makes the brand valuable. Second, hasty decision making. This is actually a fallout of one of the personality traits, which is attention spans. Small attention spans lead to hasty decisions. Okay? I'm sure all of you have worked in companies. How many times have you seen the CEO take a decision in the corridor as he's walking by? Somebody comes, sir, this is, okay, what is it? Okay, do this. That's no way to take a decision. You see this, permanently happening. Hasty decision making. For me, the right people should be involved in the decision. And once you take it, go with it. Okay? But think through your decisions carefully. Okay? They have severe impact because you might be thinking this is a small decision, but it has an impact on many other things. Okay? So think through the variability of how you decide. Hasty decision making, this way, that way. The trouble with hasty decision making is we confuse people with the direction they're giving. Okay? You take quick decisions, you feel good about it, but some of the quick decisions start confronting with the earlier decisions you made when you make quick decisions like that without thinking things through. So suddenly then you need to start taking U-turns, and then people say, hey, this is not consistent. What's wrong? Okay, so that's the fallout of hasty decision making. The ostrich or the bear. This goes back to the link of hands-on or hands-off. Okay? If things are tough or something is going wrong, you put your head in the sand and say, you behave like an ostrich, nothing's going to change. Nothing's affecting you. Okay? A lot of CEOs do that. Okay, they think this will pass. No, it won't pass. You have to address it. You cannot be an ostrich. Equally, you cannot be a bear. At the first sign of bad news, you start going and bashing up people. You start confronting them. You get aggressive. That's also not wrong. Okay, if you do that, nobody will ever tell you the truth. Okay, that's it. Let him find out for himself. What should I tell him? And remember a golden rule of bad news. Bad news is not like pickles. It doesn't get better with age. Bad news stinks with age. The more you keep the bad news out there, the later, the more time it takes to come to you. By the time it comes to you, it will be stinking like mad. So a cardinal rule I tell everybody is, guys, gloves are off. Whatever the bad news, put it on the table. Don't worry. I can handle it. The earlier you tell me, the better it is. I always reward people, right through my career, people who tell me things as they are, however bad they might be. Because then you can figure out what to do. If people don't tell you the truth, you are in deep trouble as a CEO. You are in deep trouble as a CEO. So you cannot be an ostrich, you cannot be a bear, but you have to encourage people to tell you the truth. As many people say, you have to feel the temperature as it is. If the temperature is hot, you better feel it. If it's cold, you better feel it. You cannot have layers of sweaters to protect you, from the temperature. So ostrich is the bear. Pacing innovation. This is another mistake CEOs make. They really don't know how to pace innovation on the brand and company. In my book, with all my experience, I found every company and brand must at least have one big innovation every year and two small innovations every year. You must at least have one big innovation every year, whatever that is in your industry. Okay. You must rally the company around that one big innovation to say, we will make this a really good success. So in definition terms, that one big innovation should be able to get you at least a 10% baseline growth. And the two small innovations must get you about 2 to 3% baseline growth. That is what I call by one big innovation. So whichever industry you're working in, you're making your plans for 2012, ask yourself, do I have one big innovation out there? It can be anything. If you're selling steel, it can be, can you have a red painted steel bar? I don't know. Okay? Can you have a cheaper steel bar? Can you have a more tensile strength steel bar? Okay, if it's a car, can it be something to do with the comfort of the car, or the mileage, or whatever it is? Okay, you must have one big innovation and two small innovations. This is what we call new news when you talk of innovation. What's the new news around your brand and company for the year? What's it? So one big innovation, at least two small innovations every year. And pacing that innovation is important. So now that I've told you, step back. When was the last time you had a genuine innovation on your brand or company? How did you pace it? If it's been 3-4 years, then troubling times are coming ahead, is all I can tell you. When you do this, you'll keep your workforce young and energetic, you'll keep the customers happy, and you'll keep your growth singing. So one big innovation, two small innovations.
Chief, can you give some example here, Shiv?
Oh, you can think of any number of things. Okay. Give me a sector. Let's discuss it. Let's take, okay. All of you fly. Okay, all of us fly. Let me give you the example of the Indian flight scenario. Who was the market leader who had the premium price 5 years ago in this country? Jet. Why did they lose it? No, they lost. Whom did they lose it to? Let me ask you correct. Whom did they lose the premium position to? Absolutely, not low cost. So now let's go back. How did Kingfisher reposition Jet? Let's ask that question. What did they do?
Innovation.
What innovation? What?
They made their services premium as compared to Jet.
Okay,
Customer
so
felt they were premium.
okay. If I go back over the last 5 years, let's look at simple things which they did, which Kingfisher did. Quality of food better than everybody, better than the competitor Jet. Number one. Second, in-flight entertainment for everyone, including economy class. Okay? In-flight thing for absolutely everybody. Okay? Now, checking in and checking out, whether it was the use of the POS terminals, whether it was the guys who come and pick up your bag, etc. Very simple innovations. Didn't cost them a lot at all, but delighted the consumer. And if you fly business class, you're wearing glasses, the air hostess before the flight is over cleans the glass and gives it back to you. Doesn't cost you a penny. But suddenly the concept of service with these simple innovations got redefined. Okay, the flight is the same, the distance is the same, the time taken is the same, but the price you're paying is 10% more today. Now, it's a very simple example. So many times when you think of innovation, we make the mistake of thinking or confusing it with invention. Invention is what Einstein and people like that do once in 25 years. Innovation can, on any parameter, you can innovate on the business model, you can innovate on service, you can innovate on pricing, you can innovate on so many things. Okay? Now let's take low-cost airlines, since you mentioned it. Who is the best in low-cost airlines? Indigo. Why are they the best in low-cost airlines? On time. Think about it. Here in the country, Bhaskar Bhatt, who's a good friend of mine, who's head of Titan, said this once. He said, I'm amazed that we sell watches in this country when people have no concept of time. Why do they buy a watch? Okay, now, this thing of a low-cost airline being on time, a great differentiator. A great differentiator. But if you cannot deliver on that, you're in trouble. You're in deep trouble. Now let's go back and ask ourselves, what are the simple innovations that Indigo has done to ensure that they are on time? What's the simple innovation they've done? Anything?
The ground handling regions is the mechanics.
Okay, let's take ground handling. What's the time by which you need to be there for an Indigo flight?
45 minutes.
45 minutes before. They closed the roster 45 minutes before. So they made you change your habit. They said, Pal, you want us to be on time, you better be on time. They passed the responsibility on to you. So if you are not there 45 minutes in advance, you are thrown off the plane. Full stop. That's one. What else? There's one more innovation. Let me see if somebody has picked it up. There's one more innovation which Indigo has done very well.
If it is
Extra time.
everybody is on time, the flight takes off.
Extra time for material for handling. Extra time for handling.
Extra time. Okay, now let's go ahead.
Inside cabin, the cleaning, they got
It's a ground handling.
with,
Okay, so let me give you the other one.
yeah,
Okay, let-
the cleaning of the flight inside.
How many of you have flown Indigo? Then you've been really blind to innovation. Okay? Let me go back. When a plane lands or before it takes off, what's the maximum time spent?
20 minutes.
No. On what activity?
Boarding.
Taxi.
No, as passengers.
Check-in. Check-in.
Boarding the plane. What's the difference between boarding an Indigo and others, please?
They made you board 15 row behind and this thing.
Again, you guys are missing it. Absolutely right. They have a ramp. The ramp is a faster way of evacuation and boarding than steps. Yeah, because it's much easier. That's why they have a ramp up and down. So they are able to fill in their plane in half the time a jet or a Kingfisher or Indian Airlines does. You try this actually. You stand and check it and you realize it yourself. If you want 20 people to board a plane on steps, it takes X amount of time. Via ramp, it takes half the time. Check it yourself. It's a very simple innovation. Okay? No difficult. Okay?
One more thing they have done it,
Right. That also saves time. You're right. But just imagine this concept. You want a plane. Okay, now let's play this game and see, since you asked the question. So take the current Indian low-cost airline. You want a turnaround time much faster. The biggest asset in the aircraft business is the aircraft. Yes or no?
Yes.
If it's not in the air, it's unproductive asset. If it's sitting on the ground, it's white elephant. Correct? It has to be in the air. Otherwise, it's an unproductive asset. All of you know, double entry bookkeeping. Okay. How do you ensure that the time on the ground is minimized for a low-cost airline? How do you ensure that? What are the ideas?
we reduce all the time taken by.
So what are they?
What are the activities which are required to be done on the ground? If you can do in air, then you are reducing the time on the
Okay.
ground.
Take current situation of low-cost airlines in India. Give me one thing which you can change as innovation.
Timing of flights.
Timing of flights. What else?
I was actually heading Go Airlines as head of HR for
The less
turnaround time
congested
when
airports.
aircraft lands and to take off. Okay, is the maximum time which if you can reduce that turnaround time, you will be able to save much more.
So what can we do? What innovation can we do to do the turnaround faster? Yeah. 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 Okay. Passenger getting in, getting out. Yeah. You also want to say something?
Avoiding the airports, busy airports, Delhi and Bombay.
Agreed. Avoiding busy is a good one. Secondary airports is another one. A very simple thing which any of the airlines can do is to actually remove seat numbers.
Remove?
Seat numbers. Yeah. Imagine a low-cost airline. You don't need to have a seat number. First come, first serve. Full stop. You'll actually be on time. That's it. The guy comes first serve. So you don't go around. What's the biggest trouble in airline? You get up, there's somebody who's looking. Sir, where is 4C, sir? No, you're wasting time. It's just a first come, first serve. Pick the seat. If it's free, sit. If it's not free, move on.
But there'll be
It's a very
fight
simple
before
thing.
entering the flight. But there'll be lots of fight before entering the flight.
Absolutely. That's okay.
Yeah,
But the
they
thing
waste
is, I can assure you, you will change a lot. Many times, and this is a very important thing about innovation. If you don't challenge the conventional thinking, you won't get innovation. Okay? So people will tell you all kinds of reasons why that seat number is required. But if you start by saying, what? Imagine a world with no seat numbers, what will happen?
It will be an incentive to go to airport then.
Absolutely right. So you can change a lot of
Even
things.
if it is early, it doesn't mean that you can board the flight early.
The European low-cost airlines already do that.
Absolutely. So think differently. One big innovation, two small innovations. In any business, it's possible, guys. Please don't think it's not possible. The next one, mistake CEOs make is, going back to the first point I made, what makes their company stroke brand valuable? Competency. What competencies are you good at in your company? What competencies do you need to be good at? Okay, this is a mistake again people make. if you actually ask people, okay, now tell me why is your company good and what is it good at, very few people can articulate it. And I have no hesitation in accepting. The first time I read C.K. Prahlad's article, now I'm talking 1988-89, when he said competency, he said every organization must think of its business not as a portfolio of business, but a portfolio of competencies. That's when it shook me, and I stepped back and said, okay, what are we good at in Hindustan? Okay, we're good at distribution, we're good at this, we're good at fixed pricing. What are we good at? You should really understand what your competency is. What are you good at? And competency simply defined for you is the accumulated knowledge and learning on that topic in your organization is significantly more than the competitors in the industry. That's all. That's the simplest definition I can give you for what is the competence in your company compared to the industry. The accumulated learning in your organization is significantly better than anybody else in the industry. That's the competence. Take that as the simplest definition that you can follow. So this is a mistake CEOs make again. They're not sure about competence. Another mistake CEOs make, numbers and people. Sometimes too focused on numbers, sometimes too focused on people. A very good example of this is Levi's. The CEO of Levi's, the family, he went to Harvard and he was told theory X, theory Y, etc. So he said, I want to build an organization where people are very happy and cared for, etc. Okay, performance tanked like mad. Still the board had to step in and tell him, thank you for all your theories from Harvard. Now please step off, we'll get a professional CEO. Okay? Sometimes you can be too caring, which is a problem. Sometimes you can be too blinded by what's your last week's sale. Okay, and both are a problem. Okay, and the balancing of the number and the person is very important. For me, the first thing I look at when I look at numbers, when we are reviewing, etc. Okay, I do look at numbers, but I look at the effort behind the numbers also. Has the guy really done his best? I always look at it. Okay, because I've been in many businesses, as the introduction said, I've handled 34 brands. There were at least 10, 12 which were dog brands, not good brands at all. They were going nowhere. Okay, but I worked, 24/7 to move them somewhere. Okay, many times when you give people tough situations or tough brands or whatever it is, we underestimate the effort which people make to actually do something better. In making that happen, they sacrifice a hell of a lot. And as companies, we don't value it. We just look at the number here, done or not. That's not correct. You have to be fair in doing it, but you also have to judge to say, has this guy put in more effort than the guys who grow? Has this guy really changed, the competence building in his team, etc.? Has he done all the other things right, which will ensure that the future runway is very good? Okay, you have to value that also, just not sheer numbers. Okay, that's a mistake you could make, numbers versus people. This is a mistake. My first chart, I said friend of foe. So let me ask you, how many of you believe you do this well, that you hold people accountable? How many of you believe you hold your teams accountable or people in your organization accountable for delivery? Okay. I have half a dozen hands. What do you hold them accountable for?
For the mistakes they do.
Mistakes. What else?
Generally CEOs generally look for the mistakes only. They don't hold people accountable for the good things they do. That's what I perceive.
Time and the quality of work.
Time and quality of work. Okay. What else?
Efforts.
So
Efforts. Okay.
So the results they need to deliver.
Okay.
An area of responsibility is given to them, and the CEO just forgets about it. That's the particular manager's kitty he needs to manage.
Okay. Think about this. Okay. And after I mention it, let's see whether you agree or disagree on it. Okay. I've always believed as a CEO in holding my people, my direct reports, everybody who works with me, on 3 different dimensions, not just results. The first is their behavior. How many of you hold your people accountable on behavior? It's a very important one. In organizations, when you end up with bullies in the organization and guys who threaten other people, it's because the CEO has turned a blind eye. No other reason. So behavior is absolutely critical. If somebody is stepping out of line, it's the CEO's job to tell him, sorry, this is the line, you will not step over this. For example, how many of you challenge people on bad language in meetings and organizations? Unacceptable, especially in a society where we get more women at work. We don't hold people accountable on language. Many people don't. Why do we not hold people accountable on language? Why is that acceptable? Accountability is just not results. It's behavior, it's language which people use at workplace. Okay? Third, how many of you are holding your team accountable for developing your subordinates? That's also a very important point if your organization wants to be very good for the future. After that is business results. You have to hold people accountable on all these dimensions. It goes back to numbers and people. We are very happy saying this is 100, 101, 95. That's good. One part of it. But you must equally hold people accountable for their behavior, for the language, and for developing their people. All three. That's what you must hold them accountable to. Okay? And if you don't hold them accountable for that, then people will think anything goes. You'll find a wide variation of behavior. Okay, so when I say accountability, I mean all of that, not just business results. Okay, my last two slides, and I'm exactly 43 minutes into my speech. Okay, my last two slides. How do you look at it as CEOs? For me, there are three questions which a CEO should always ask. How will this business look 3 to 5 years from now? Okay. Second question, how will money be made in this business 3 to 5 years from now? Because the way you're making money today might not be the way you'll make money tomorrow. And I'll give you a practical example of that. And the third is, what competencies are required so that the company will win 3 to 5 years out? Okay, in 1999, I had the pleasure of going and meeting Mr. Yash Chopra, okay, the brilliant filmmaker. Okay, so we're doing some deal for Hindustan Lever with him, and one of his movies, Mohabbatein. Okay, we spent 20 lakhs. It was a bomb deal. It was a bad deal. Okay, which I signed. We didn't get much out of it. So when I went to meet Yashji, he said, Shivji, sit down. How are you? Give me a cup of tea, etc. And then he said, Shivji, if you don't mind, I must tell you some criticism. I said, yes, sir. Please go ahead. He says, you guys in Hindustan Lever think that you're very good marketeers. I think you have no clue. So I was shocked. First time somebody is telling me that. Okay, he knew me well enough. So I said, what happened, sir? Tell me. He said, you already are selling the same shampoo for 20 years. Okay, you improve fragrance, you improve packaging, etc. When have you really fine-tuned the taste of consumers? So I said, give me an example. He said, look, I'm making a movie now and trying to judge what consumers will want 1 year from now. Have you ever done that? What kind of a story will appeal to them? What kind of a hero-heroine will appeal to them? Okay, that's what I'm trying to judge. I'm actually trying to outguess consumership. You actually follow consumers. And I thought it was a very valid point. The movie industry. Then I sat down with him and got thinking how the movie industry works, etc. And I learned a lot. Let me give the movie industry example. Let's take 15 years ago. Okay, I don't know whichever movie was big. I'm not a big movie goer. What was the competence required, and how was money made in the movie business? Let's take 10, 15 years.
Screening and resolving music rights.
Screening, music rights. Screening. So if you release the movie, how many weeks did it have to run for it to be successful?
Almost a year or something.
Okay. 25 weeks, 50 weeks. Okay. Why? Why?
Number of friends.
Now, India has had 9,000 movie theaters for the last 25 years.
Number of friends at a time was very low.
Absolutely right. The ticket price was low. Because the government did not liberalize ticket pricing, okay, if the ticket price was 5 rupees, so what determined success in that industry if ticket price was low and 9,000 theaters were there in the country? What determined success? Volume, distribution. So you had to distribute your reel in the maximum number of physical theaters. So that's why in Theatre 1 in Indore, the movie would start, Sholay would start at 2:15, Theatre 2 would start at 2:30. While the first reel, when it is over, it gets shipped to the next theatre. Okay, the whole business model was distribution. Your concept was distribution. Let the movie run for 25 weeks, make it a success. Then the government lifted the cap on ticket prices. So what happens now? If now you can fill in theaters for 3 weeks, it's a huge success. 3 weeks. So now distribution was the competence required 10 years ago. What's the competence required now? Marketing. You need to get people, you need to excite people to come to the theater only for the 3 weeks. After that, forget it. So now, movies are marketed live, you market a newspaper or a magazine. So in a matter of 10 years, Bollywood has moved from a distribution competence business model to a marketing competence business model. That's what's happening. In a matter of 10 years. The same is happening in many businesses, in many industries. That's the best example I can give you of how will money be made. In the past, money was made 25-week runs, etc. Today, money is made selling export rights. In fact, most people don't even bother about what they sell in the country is for movies. Okay, I've had an export deal, I made my money close. Okay, because that's a much better controlled market in terms of satellite and what people pay for. So people have figured out new ways to make money and said this is a better way to make money. So in each and every industry, please ask these 3 big questions. How will my business look 3 to 5 years from now? How will money be made in this business? And what competency should I be developing for my organization? Okay? So, and my last slide, and this is a big mistake CEOs make. The best CEOs are people who can do both. Think strategy at 50,000 feet, but are able to connect that strategy right down to the execution level at 5 feet. No strategy is good if it cannot be implemented. And when it has to be implemented, unfortunately, strategy is taught by PhDs and MBAs sitting in boardrooms. The guy who is actually implementing the strategy for you in most industries is at best a 10th standard pass guy. Your ability to think in his feet and say, make it that simple is what's important. So you can talk 50,000 feet language, but you should be able to come down to 5 feet and understand the execution challenges, the problems, and how they're guided. Okay, that's what many people talk about. 50,000 to 5 feet. How do you bridge that gap? Okay, very good CEOs are able to do that. They're able to relate to people on the ground what they will face in terms of difficulties in executing the strategy. At the same time, refine the strategy when they go back to the boardroom. Okay, the 50,000 feet to 5 feet thinking is what the straddling is for a good CEO. So that's all I have to say. I'm on the dot on my time. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, any points of view, you're more than happy to ask me. As I said, this is not in any book. This is my observations over 20 years and 9 years running corporations. Okay. These are the mistakes typically CEOs make.
Nowadays we're talking about the two CEOs concept. How do you relate?
Difficult one. For me, a single leader is always very important. Two CEOs, always a challenge. I worked in a company with two CEOs for a number of years, which is Unilever. It has its own sets of balances, pulls and pressures. It's a big challenge. Okay. Maybe I think boards are pushing for the office of the chairman, CEO, etc., to get better balance and better accountability. But for me, no ship can have two captains. It must be one guy. That's the best way.
SBU is everywhere and as a CEO,
that's different. That's a multi-product company or a multi-business entity or a conglomerate. By definition, should have multiple CEOs. But I'm talking of a single company having two CEOs. That, to my mind, is very different. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you give one competitive advantage you have on Samsung?
Oh, the brand, the biggest competitive advantage. Brand, number one. Number two, distribution. Number three, innovation. Okay. And number four, I believe, now that you're reading the newspaper, which I learned. Now I go back to 2000, 2003 when I'm running the hair care business in Hindustan Lever in India. At that point of time, having seen Vidal Sassoon and the growth of designer brands, Tony and Guy, Vidal Sassoon, Daniel Richter, etc. in the West, I figured out that the salon business will be a very important business for the future. Okay? And we said we must make a move there. Okay, there are some women here who can tell you if you go speak to them and they trust you, they'll tell you. They trust their hairdresser more than they trust most of the people in their lives. Okay? So they will share a lot with their hairdresser which they don't even share at home. Okay? The hairdresser is a truly big confidant of almost every single woman. So we developed this wonderful package of Sunsilk. We had the right product, 1 kg 1 liter conditioner, 1 liter this time colorants, etc. And we said, okay, now let's go to sell the salons. It was an absolute miserable failure. It worked. At the end of 6 months, I myself, even though I initiated the project, I called it off I called it off exactly on this ground, competence. The competence in the company was the ability to sell to millions of kirana merchants. The company didn't have the competence to educate hairdressers. They couldn't speak the language of hairdressers. Okay, that's a very specialist skill. Okay, so you can't go to a hairdresser and say, okay, now here's some shampoo, go use it. Doesn't work. You have to talk to him about the texture of the shampoo, what does it do, how does it work on oiled hair, how does it work on non-oiled hair. You have to educate. And we are bad at it. And not even bad, we're terrible at it. Okay, so we stopped it. To this day, think about it. Levers does not have one direct business success. The whole success is on the retail model. Direct selling and consultative selling is a very different competence. Where the Amways of this world, the Avons of this world, etc., they're doing a damn good job. So that's a very good example of a competence which we didn't have, and hence you can't really leverage that. So if that segment grows, you can only watch it grow.
But how would you build the predictability of competences for future?
That's a good question. So if you look at your business portfolio and say, direct to consumer is going to be a very big one. I don't have the confidence. The best way is to buy something out.
You mean to say you get
Absolutely.
an organization which, or you have inorganic growth?
You're absolutely right. You have an organization, you go and buy an Amway or an A1 and bring them in, but keep them separate and run that company.
The basic competency on which you build your own structure might also collapse.
It will not collapse. You run that separately. Okay? But from the direct to consumer model, there's a number of innovations, ideas, consumer connect which you can pull back into your main company.
So slowly you inculcate whatever competencies they have.
The good ones back into the organization. Equally, you need to teach them some of your cost measures.
Because of which they lost.
Yeah.
In the first. Is it possible to say that even though you are a healthy company and a loss-making company you get in, it is possible to get some of their qualities seeped into the system and both the ships sink at the same time?
It is. Procter & Gamble is a good example. If you look at all the acquisitions of Procter & Gamble, whether it's Gillette, whether it's Vela, etc., they've done a very good job.
But don't you think individually when you say that you have a weakness, incompetency, which he's talking about, can't you plan prognostically and get an expert like McKinsey or somebody and ask him to groom up your people to that level?
In my book, it will take at least a generation of.
Generation is 7 years in the markets?
Yeah, easily. No, and the market by then has changed again. So it's very difficult. So if you don't have the competency, either you accept it and say, I won't fight there, or you pick something to ensure that you fight there. That's what I say.
But it requires a lot of financial, sorry.
Yeah, it would.
It requires a lot of financial backing that you need from your board to accept.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a very good concept about business is always to challenge yourself. The more you don't challenge yourself and your current businesses, the less successful you will be. You have to threaten your current business to some degree.
So you've got to be friendly with the board, not as a foe.
Definitely.
Breaking the first rule of your
And friends or foes of subordinates. With board, I always said you have to carry the board.
But would they not treat you as a friend or a foe?
No. All boards, let me be honest, I'm on boards. We never treat the CEO ever as a foe. In fact, we believe we are there to actually help him. It's for him to use us.
Yes. In this majority people are entrepreneurs or some industrialists. Very few are CEOs here. But we are acting as CEOs. Acting as a CEO in own company is very difficult.
Right.
And we cannot recruit CEOs.
First, let's take the basic assumption. Why do you believe it's difficult for you to be a CEO and an entrepreneur?
Because a doctor will never give an injection to his son.
Why?
The problem is we know everything about company.
No, in fact, I think
It's a problem.
if you honestly ask me, and somebody asked me this question in Chennai also, if you honestly ask me, there's one place where I always find, and full marks to the entrepreneurs, hats off to them, I always find the entrepreneurs are streets ahead of the professional CEOs. And you know what that one area is? Managing politics. When they see two people in their company indulging in politics, the entrepreneur will take both of them off. He will take away anybody who hurts his company because of politics. A CEO will try to manage it. you're a nice guy, why don't you take him out for a drink? Why don't you guys sort it out? If you have a problem, come back to me. The entrepreneur said, thanks guys, go home. So there are some qualities of entrepreneurs which are very, very good which CEOs can pick up. And I don't, if you look at the history of industrialization, etc., the biggest of the corporations have been built by entrepreneurs today which are professional. The biggest, take General Motors, was an entrepreneur-run company. Ford was an entrepreneur company. Chrysler was an entrepreneur company. The biggest companies which you see today, Philips was an entrepreneur-run company. The biggest companies were entrepreneurial one time. Over a period of time, they have actually, evolved. And for you, the biggest problem when you're an entrepreneur, I believe your number one there are two challenges you have. How professional can you be? Number one is always a challenge. And two is the succession. That's always a challenge for an entrepreneur. Very few people are able to, balance that. So that's the real challenge.
Shiv, is it possible for us to go back to one of the slides where you had 7 or 8 things which are more than 60% of it is related to people management and the amount of time spent by CEOs or let's say general organization, any organization.
Thanks for asking that. I wrote about it some time ago. If a CEO does not know the people in the organization, he is actually harming the organization. And most CEOs don't take the time enough either to travel or to interact with people to get a sense. Equally, they don't, review the full file of the guy carefully before they do the talent. So they just go by 1 or 2 opinions. For example, when I push for a talent review, I always ask, if somebody puts up a guy in a particular box or whatever it is, I say, okay, who in this audience knows this guy very well? Describe him to me. And I'll say, who doesn't know him at all? And based on this, what do you think of this guy? Try to get the most contrarian views to the table. And then you'll be a much sharper guy. For me, CEO owning HR is an absolute must in today's world. With the kind of, what's the attrition you guys are seeing in your companies? 30. Anybody? Any other number? 20. Any other number?
Because every CEO is looking at the numbers, not at the people. So,
any other numbers, attrition? We are at 17. It's too much. Currently, our attrition is 17 and a half now. It's too much. Why are young people leaving? Let's start. Why are the bottom young people, the guys with 0 to 5 years experience in your company, why are they leaving? Any idea?
Better prospects. They don't buy in your vision.
Vision, okay.
Better prospects.
Better? Okay. Based on the
they are
brand.
not able to buy the basic core concept of why they are there. I mean, if somebody says that my philosophy and your philosophy are one of the same, we both, if we travel together, we will be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Because 90% of the people who are senior people who have stayed on with an organization for a long time, they have bonding with the system. And we are not able to bind people.
Nowadays, the feeling amongst the new lot is that they should stay in an organization only for 2 to 3 years. And then they have to move on so that they will get better prospects in the later.
Learning opportunity, another is to manage the
Okay.
This company will not give me the opportunity where I want to reach. This career growth.
Performance appraisal in terms of salary is 15 to 20% per year. While if a person jumps to another company, he might get a higher job pay.
Okay. Last one.
There is no clarity.
Okay. Okay, last one.
They are worried about their resume.
Okay.
They stick to one company for too long, then.
Okay, fine. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what my diagnosis or prognosis of the problem is. When I look at all the people who are below the age of 35, the 3 top reasons why they are leaving organizations is as follows. Number 1 is EMI. Number 1 is EMI. Any employee of yours who has an EMI of more than 25% of his take-home salary is in the market. Remember that. Why? He's worried. He's sick and worried. He wants to reduce that 25 to 10 or 15. That's why he's in the market. Believe it or not. When we went through the 2008-9 recession and I saw people leaving, I called the HR department and said, give me a scan of all the people's salaries, EMIs, etc. and I found anybody who was about 25 was absolutely prime for the team. Number one. Number two, overconfidence. Believe it or not. Overconfidence. Overconfidence in their ability to have a good career. They don't realize it. Okay? They think this 2-year jump is a non-stop thing. It will keep continuing till the time they're 50. It will happen till the time they're 35. After that, nobody will employ them. They don't realize it. Because when you employ guys as solid middle managers or senior managers, you're looking for continuity. Okay, you're not going to employ guys with 18 months. So it will stop at middle management. And the third one, which is something you can do something about, is boredom. They get bored very easily. So you have to excite them with challenging opportunities, challenging projects, training and development and things like that. So EMI, overconfidence, boredom. Those are the three big reasons why people are leaving right now.
Also, I think CEOs should have relations, some sort of relations with the employees.
You can have any relationship, but you will not overcome the first two.
The employees should know what's happening in the CEO's mind each and every day. What new is happening?
I can tell you, I try very hard, it doesn't work. Let me tell you. I try very hard, but it doesn't work. Because the drivers are very different. Now, I'll give you a simple story, true story to reflect this. 3 years ago, we had an employee in our company who was applying for a job in Nokia, Singapore. So his boss came and told me, Shiv, look, this guy's a good guy. I want to retain him in marketing. Why don't you have a word with him? I said, sure, I'll talk to him. So I took him out. So let's say his name is Praveen. So I took him out for a coffee downstairs. So I said, look, Praveen, I think you're doing well here. You should continue and this thing. After 5 minutes, he said, yeah, Shiv, I agree. I agree with you, I'll stay. So I said, okay, mission accomplished. So I've done something right. So over the coffee, I looked at him and said, Praveen, tell me, and I thought I was asking the CEO question, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I asked him that question. He looked at me straight in the eye and said, I don't know where, Shiv, but definitely not Nokia. I'm telling you, generational. If Dr. Ganguly was my chairman when I was in Hindustan Lever and asked me, Shiv, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Here, sir, where else? It's a big generation shift. And then it shook me. So then I asked Praveen, why did you say that? He said, Shiv, the world is so full of opportunities. I might be an entrepreneur, I might be something else. Why would I want to stick to a company? It's a very different mindset. Irrespective of the personal equation you have, the communication you do as a CEO, etc., you cannot take away the overconfidence, you cannot take away the EMI, you cannot take away the world of opportunities.
5 years before, when we used to take interviews, they were giving interviews.
Yeah.
Now
they question you.
They are taking our interview.
You're absolutely right. In fact, they are asking you, why should I join you?
They are asking these questions.
Absolutely.
So it's opportunity.
Yeah, it is the world of opportunity. I have a nephew who is in Titan, Bangalore, doing well. Every 3 months he'll send me an email. I've got a new offer from Acer, what do you think? I say, stay. The Monday he got an offer from some company. So I was really angry. I called him up and said, hey, Tiku, you're not being stupid. Now let me tell you, okay? Then I gave the whole background, why he needs to stay, he's doing well, he's one of their listers, etc. He said, yeah, now I buy everything, you're right. Finished. 2 months later, one more email. I said, what has changed? He said, no, but they're offering me. I said, anybody will offer you, so what? And, it's a different one. I don't think there is any one answer. You have to do a combination of things. Okay, there's no one answer to it. Okay, and after doing that combination also, you just hope for the best that you retain your best.
Marketing, HR, everything, finance, all the 4 things together.
Yeah, every function has the same. The opportunity is huge, right?
Shiv, I have a question for you. That is the lifestyle of a CEO actually puts him in a place where you don't go to the common places, you don't understand the user. And he gets a shocks. And you might be going about this type of shocks. And in the consumer market they have. They go by flight, they travel everything, and they don't understand the rural things. And in a certain over period of time, like Micromax did something amazing. That type of things happen in the market. So what do you see actually happens?
That's true. That's my first point, which is I think you have to have a very healthy interaction with consumers, customers, and what happens out there. There's no substitute. And a CEO who refuses to do that then must have a very good set of people who are doing that constantly for him. Okay, and feeding that to him. Otherwise he's in trouble. You have to experience the coal face, as I call it. You have to get your hands on it. If you don't do that, yeah, you'll be able to pick things very quickly. You'll see, okay, this is right, wrong. You'll be able to judge it much faster. The more you do it, actually, it will become fun. It won't stop it.
I had a question. How do you manage stress? I mean, you must have seen tough times in your job profile. How do you manage stress and all of that? What would you advise us?
Yeah, good question again. The thing is, there is no point ever screaming or raving and ranting about situation. It doesn't help anyone. As I say, don't lose your shirt. Nobody wants your shirt. So, not worth losing it. And I think the more cool you are and the more understanding you are, I think the more respect you get from your immediate team as well as others. Okay. And the toughest part of a tough situation is not going through the tough situation. Believe me, it's not. Most people are happy to go through a tough situation with you if you're a good CEO. What most people look for from you is, where is the light at the end of the tunnel? That's what they're looking for. And your ability as a CEO to articulate that and to show them a future which is brighter and why it is brighter, to get that buy-in, that is the more difficult part. Okay? People are happy to be with you, be part of the journey, as long as you can show them the right. Yes, sir.
Percentage Nokia spends on R&D, and what is the percentage which is obsolescence cost?
Okay, good questions both. We spend about 11 to 14% of our top line on R&D. Okay, so if I were to give you a representation of industries, the FMCG business would be 1 to 2%. The pharmaceutical business would be 15+%. Okay, we spend more than all the oil companies put together on R&D. Believe it or not, all the big oil companies globally. So we spend a lot. The other company which spends a lot is Microsoft. Okay, so
yeah, spends only 4% on
yes, they are. They are very good at some elements. Okay, and they're very, very good in some parts of it. R&D is one part. Now, of course, there are various theories on R&D and patents, etc., which I won't get into. But that's the one.
What is the percentage of obsolescence cost
Out of this innovation, I would take at least 5 to 10%. Easy. At least. Yeah, because there are some technologies you're betting on which just don't happen. Like for example, all of us are betting on gesture. Okay, so tomorrow all I need to do is I have a phone or a digital product. I do something and it reacts to it. I don't need to punch anything. Okay, the whole industry is going to bet on it for the next 5 years. I don't know how much of that will be a winner. Okay, but we're all betting on it. Okay, like a lot of people bet on speech. Okay? Speech recognition is a big thing we bet on. Okay. Now the trouble in a country like India is speech and accent are very, very correlated. Okay, now that's been a complete failure and all of us have tried to promote it. Okay, it's not worked. Okay, is there a market for it? Yeah, there is a market for it, but we didn't get it right. So there are parts like this which will always work, some parts which won't.
You feel that problem is not there? The direct problem you have used?
I'm sure, but there people are at least used to not talking to a machine. Here nobody wants to talk to a machine. Now we always want to reply. There's a difference.
My question was that good companies give their own products.
Yes.
Which they feel that they are worn out or they're going to be obsolete. So what is the Nokia strategy? Like Sony has the build the Betamax from their own.
Very good question. Very good question. Thank you for asking that. For us, the life of a successful model is 18 to 24 months. That's it. In 24 months, we kill it ourselves. We kill it because the next architecture is cheaper than the previous one. And because it's a fast innovation cycle time industry, the consumer is expecting something new. What do you think is the period for a failure product in our industry? Mobile phones. How many months? 6 months.
3 months.
3 months. Anything else?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. You're closer. 6 days. We launch 40 to 50 models a year. The unsuccessful one, the CEO has to take a call on the 6th day.
6th day?
Yes. But day 6 you should be able to figure it out. Otherwise you're in trouble. Because the inventory carrying cost is 29%. So in a fast cycle time industry, fast innovative industries, everybody thinks of success. And the two questions from the learned gentleman here are very valid. You have to think of obsolescence and how do you handle failure. So if a product, you want to call it as a failure in 6 days time, then think about the information systems you need and the pulse of the market you need in order to make a decision. You're virtually launching it and pulling it off because you clearly recognize that if you continue with it, it will burn you.
But you have already spent so much money on it.
That's okay. If it's not working, pull it very quickly. Companies have lost their shirt on. Motorola lost not because they had wrong strategy. They had Moto phone, a $30 phone with half a screen and half input. If they had 1.5 million units sitting, that killed them. They could never recover.
Yeah. There is an iPhone with a one model strategy. There is a Nokia phone with a 40 model coming in every year. I have been reading a lot of articles and things. Don't you think? I don't know where actually the system is going towards. At one side you say all the Android phones look same. Because you take HTC or Samsung phone, they all look same. And here Nokia has all these different designs and different devices and different way to play around the phone. So what you see, like how things are going ahead on all of us.
So good question again. Thank you for asking that. I see a future world which will either be mass customized or what I call a no worry choice. I think there will be two spectrums. Okay. One is mass customization. Okay, or a no worry choice. I would say currently, for the top end of the market globally, an Apple is a no-worry choice. That's the view. Okay, but looking at the various segments, I don't think one model will appeal to the world. It will appeal to a segment. Like, for example, let's take a Gucci, a Ferragamo, a Lemon, whatever. There is always a set of people who will be turned on by that values and what that brand has to offer. But if you want to be a mass player for 5 billion people, then you cannot do it with one brand or one offering. Okay. So I think we'll have to.
I'm just going to add one more point into it because we are doing research on Japanese market, but it was 2.5% of the smartphones. And in the Japan, the model is something similar to India, where multiple models are sold. They don't go for one type of model. In East, we are seeing more this type of model, but in West, we are seeing the same simple model and people are just buying it. So is it something to do with the regional choices?
So let me explain. See, the telephone market depends very much on the business model. If it is run by the operator, it's run in a commoditized way. If it's run as an open market where the consumer has a choice, then innovation and choice becomes big. Japan is a very interesting case. Japan is the most advanced mobile phone market in the world. Controlled by Docomo, which is a very powerful entity, and they shoot for the ideal products, and what they have done is dramatic. Last year, the top 10 movies, of the top 10 movies, 3 were mobile movies, made for the mobile phone. Of the top 10 books last year in Japan, 5 were mobile books, scripted for the mobile phone. Okay, that's how advanced it is. Like every single category, the Japanese are the only people I know in the world who always shoot for the ideal product. They always pay incremental for every little innovation. Okay, they pay a hell of a lot. It's one of the highest priced markets for any category in the world. Let's take skin cream, and I have a few women here. What do you think is the #1 category for skin cream in Japan? Any idea? What do we expect it to be? Moisturizer. Anti-wrinkle.
Anti-aging.
Anti-aging, okay? Anyone else? Okay, believe it or not, it's fairness. In Japan, it's fairness cream. You know why? You go speak to Japanese women, they want marble-like skin. I talked about the ideal nature of their, bent of mind. They want marble-like skin. $250, $300 they pay to get it. A Japanese woman, when she goes to sleep every night, uses 8 products. 8. I'm just giving that because I've studied that category a lot, the beauty business, which I was involved with. Every single category. Okay, if there is something here, there's an ideal. The Japanese consumer is always thinking, who gets me there on that ideal? They'll keep playing it. And since it's a locked-in business model system in terms of distribution, only the Japanese firms succeed. I think just 2 brands or 3 brands, Marlboro is one, and 2 other brands which are non-Japanese, which are market leaders in Japan. Otherwise, it's Japanese all the way.
They have fixed mindset. It is not
It's not. They always pay for innovation. They're always shooting for ideas. There's something there in that.
What happens to the obsolete phone? I mean, there's a major concern with regards to iPhone. And if millions of phones being dumped all over the place.
Good question. Yeah, the government, we have a recycling policy, where care centers as well as Nokia priority partners take it back. The government is actually introducing what I think is one of the most far-reaching digital laws, and we are involved in drafting that. What the government is saying is, any outlet which sells a digital product should give the underwriting to take it back also and recycle it, which is fantastic. No other country has it today. If the Indian government is able to pull it off, it's a far-reaching policy.
No, why don't you guys do it?
We are doing that. We are doing that. Not just for Nokia, we are doing it for whole industry.
I mean, I've been using a Nokia forever. I didn't know that you were guys doing it.
Then both our advertising and our shop material has not appealed to you.
Obviously, I mean, you could walk into any Nokia priority center today. I mean, there would be no sign there saying you can get the phone.
That's not true. You can go see, there's a bin there which clearly says, please recycle your phone and you'll get a reward for it.
You know, there's a difficult tendency. I mean, in India, where even Raddi has value. So if a guy is going to put the thing over there and get nothing for it.
That's the point. That's the exact point.
You need to give him something for nothing. I mean,
That's not the point.
Raddi is what? Raddi is nothing for something.
That's all. Now we need to be clear what we're discussing. Are we discussing environment? Are we discussing money to do something? We have to be very clear.
Motivation has to come from somewhere.
I'm sorry to call you on that. The motivation has to be for society, not for you. Yeah, if it's not, then the question is invalid.
No, it's no.
I must be very clear on that.
You cannot abandon the concern.
That's your concern.
No, that's not my concern. I mean, we are eventually polluting the environment.
We, as a company, responsible company, we have provided enough avenues, enough outlets for people to return their phones. If people come and say, give me some money for it, tough one. If you're concerned about the environment, you should have a commitment to the environment rather than money. If it is money, then let's discuss it outside in a separate way, but that's not the case.
But are you getting any phones back without paying? Are you getting any phones back without paying for them?
Yes.
You are?
Millions. Not ordinary. That's what I'm saying. And you know something? People who are in the age group 15 to 30 are the people most concerned about it. Every single research we do, people above the age of 30, 35 want money. But people below the age of 30, and we are doing this program in 20,000 schools this year. 20,000 schools. We are starting young, we are getting kids to bring it back. Okay? And that's how you need to do it as a corporate citizen or responsible corporate citizen. Okay? It's not about money. We are committed to it. We spend tons of money trying to organize this system and orchestrate it to happen. Then it goes away to Singapore for a recycling plant, etc. So we take full ownership.
Are the kids doing it so
Yes.
that they get the better phone from the parents?
No. Actually, it's funny. The kids are doing it, one, because they believe that they need to do something for the environment. Two, there's a bit of a competition amongst themselves also. That's the other reason.
So, just a personal thought on that. What is your thinking about the statement? What life would have been more simpler if Apple and BlackBerry would remain fully sold?
That's okay. That's their branding strategy.
May I request if the questions could be on the CEO topic rather than the telephone? If it's possible.
We have come to the end. And we have overshot our time. Just one last question from any person who is not asked so far.
All yours.
On the talent benefit, people want to change and they are not staying in the 2 years. Is it not right to balance with the mediocre people that are coming after the
Biggest mistake you can. Biggest mistake you can.
How would you like to explain?
Yeah, let me explain this. If you get a third-rate person into your organization, you'll have problems. And I'll explain the whole process. If you get a third-rate person into your organization, you'll have problems, not results. If you get a second-rate person into your organization, you'll get third-rate results. If you get a first-rate guy in your organization, you'll get more than first-rate results. In hiring, okay, and there is this philosophy, I know some people in my team also challenge me on this. My philosophy always is hire the best. Okay. When I hire people, I look for 2-3 things. One, have they failed? And how did they counter failure? When I ask them a question, okay, give me an example of failure from your life. If somebody tells me, I failed to get into the cricket team in my school, then come on, I understand how serious he is about work. If you are not failing enough and learning from it, you'll never be successful. Okay, and the guy says, somebody says, yeah, I want to get into IIT. Then my father died. Then I was at the crossroads. Then I went into a BSc. Then I said, I'm going to make it to an MBA. Then I put all my efforts in, etc. It shows me determination. Somebody who's willing to make something out of his life. That's number one, which I look for. Second one I look for is easy collaborative enough to be a team player. That's a very important thing. Poor people hire poor people and are very scared of sharing information. When you hire mediocre people, they hold information. Good guys are confident enough to open out information. And in today's organization, you need your people to collaborate. Okay. Third one is an attitude to win. Okay. You have to see on his CV, has he demonstrated enough ability to win? Okay. Has he been captain? Has he been leader? What has he done with his own life so far, the 25, 30 years or whatever? And the last one, very difficult to check, but I always hope that it works out. I always like guys who have luck on their side. So very, very difficult, you know. You are a blessed CEO if you have 10 guys reporting to you, 5 are lucky guys. Wow, what a feeling, you know. That like carries you. That's that. But never ever hire mediocre guys in your company.
In our times, when I was young, and we used to have auto spies. So, nowadays, with all this IT and technology of mobile telephones, do you have mobile spies? How you tackle this illegal communication and stealing the data from one another?
That's a good question. That's a good question and a nice way to end. First is, in your industry, do you have certain ethical practices which all of you agree to? For example, we had a situation when one of our program managers sent an email to Sony Ericsson, okay, saying, look, I have the Nokia portfolio for the next 2 years and I'm willing to share it with you for $250,000. This happened 2-3 years ago. And God bless Sony Ericsson, and this was a case of Sony Ericsson. Those guys contacted our security team in Finland and said, hey, we're getting this email ID. We have this email ID. Somebody is writing to us saying that they're willing to share your portfolio. When we investigated, to my utter shock, I recognized that it was one of our own people. Okay, we had taken off the rolls immediately. That's overnight. Okay, so today, going back to the young culture which you spoke about, today people don't have any compulsions about joining competition, which I find very sad. Okay, it's a value system you have to live with. I don't know. How can you work for X company today and X competitor tomorrow? I don't know how people are able to manage it.
That's what I meant by the CEOs should have relations.
No amount of NDA, no amount of this thing will ever help you because you cannot enforce any contract in India. You cannot. Okay, so you have to live with it and you just hope that your people are doing the right thing.
Enlightening us and sharing these valuable learnings. It's been a great session, and I see that everyone is so actively participating. So there are a lot of takeaways we have had. So how to make mistakes and find out, yes, these are the mistakes to avoid. So thanks for your insights. I now request Mr. Saurabh Kalani to extend our gratitude to our guest by presenting him in the Thank you, Saurabh.
Is this the Indore Management Association?
Yes, very nice.
So that's I for innovation.
Thank you very much. I now request Mr. Amit Vidasaria to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you once again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Indore Management Association, I thank Mr. Shivakumar for his enlightening talk on common mistakes as CEO makes. It was a wonderful session, sir, and it was quite enlightening. And I'm sure that we look forward to seeing you on the 14th and 15th of December. We really appreciate your efforts to be here with us. I would also like to extend a special thanks to all our guests for being a great audience and fantastic spectators. Thank you for the print media for the valuable support. But last but not the least, I also thank the team of Hotel Fortune Landmark for providing excellent hospitality for our sessions. quite tempted to add. Shiv, can we have the last slide, please? I request you, everyone. Thank you. I request everyone to rise for the end.